Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Warrior University online series, Blood Transfusion, What You Need to Know and Do. My name is Ashley Singleton, and I work at Georgia State University on a project called REdHHoTT. Our project focuses on reducing complications from blood transfusions for people who have sickle cell disease. I hope that you've enjoyed the previous sessions where we get into more detail and describe blood transfusions and how to avoid complications. If you haven't watched them yet, then definitely check them out. Dr. Jim Ekman covers things that everyone should know about blood transfusions, especially if you've ever had a blood transfusion. In this session, we're going to review why African American blood donations are important. We'll also talk about steps for hosting a blood drive and ways to increase blood drive participation. Well, you may be asking yourself, isn't blood just blood? Isn't all blood the same no matter who it comes from? Well, in session 2, we talked about how blood isn't just blood. And there are things that make a person's blood unique and special. And like Dr. Ekman mentioned in that session, people of the same ethnic backgrounds are better blood matches for each other because of their genetic makeup. And that means that there are less chances for complications like creating antibodies. So please, when you have a moment, check out session 2 where we talk in more detail about antibodies and matches, and you'll learn so much more information in that session. But let's talk about the major issue. There is an emergency shortage of blood donations. Blood centers across the nation are urgently seeking blood donors. In addition to this urgent call, generally speaking, African Americans and people of African descent are less likely to donate blood than any other ethnic group. In fact, less than 1% of blood donations are from African Americans. Here's the main message. It's extremely important that people of all races and backgrounds, especially minorities such as African Americans, donate blood. Did you know that most people don't realize how important blood donations are? And because they don't know, they don't donate. We've created an initiative called Be the Motivation for Blood Donation. With this initiative, we share helpful tips on how you and your friends and family can motivate anyone to donate blood, especially for people that you know very well. Here on the screen, you'll find those tips listed on a handout. Now, this handout is available on our website, and I'll make sure that you have that website address that you can access it anytime. It's open and free for the public's use, and we really encourage you all to check out the resources that we have available. Some of the other resources that we have available on our website are here. We have a brochure that, again, goes into detail about motivating others to donate, and we provide a fast facts about African American blood donations that gives really great information to people who just need to know a little bit more information about the blood donation process and why donating blood is so important. We've also created trivia signs that have questions and answers related to blood donation that can be placed along a walk race route. So, for example, if you or a group of your friends or an organization plans a race, these signs can be placed along that race trail. Or if you have a health fair coming up, say at your church or with your sorority and fraternity members, you can take these same questions and maybe use it as a trivia game at that health fair. let's say that you enjoy making presentations about sickle cell and about blood donations, and you want to keep your audience engaged. Some of these quiz questions could be used during your presentation. And then lastly, we created promotional materials that address barriers and motivators of blood donations. We shared these materials with student organizations that are hosting blood drives on campus. You'll notice that these materials were designed with bright colors and short messages and interesting hashtags, all to get the attention of college students. We use quick messages like get a free t-shirt or donating blood is safe, and bright colors that will stand out. And again, I want to emphasize that all of these materials that I just reviewed are open for your use. And you can find everything on our website that I have listed here. And if you're interested in asking more questions, or you just want to talk about maybe some ideas on how to promote a blood drive, feel free to send me an email. I'd be more than happy to speak with you and talk to you about any ideas that you may have. So if you are hosting a blood drive, I wanted to give you just a few tips for recruitment, also tips to increase potential donors, and then also tips to encourage people to return and donate again. So here are a few tips for recruitment. The first thing is really important to remember that building trust starts at a grassroots level, meaning that talking to people one-on-one or connecting with small groups to have a conversation about blood donation is really important. And it may seem like a bigger crowd and more people is where you'll get the most bang for your buck. But really, when we talk about establishing trust and creating trust, it's important to start at a smaller level and just starting early also. If you want to have a blood drive in 6 months in your community, then start talking to people now. Get to know those people and let them have the opportunity to get to know you. Also, another tip for recruitment is just to remind people that blood donations are needed all the time and not only when there's an emergency. A lot of times when there's an emergency, like a natural disaster, there are so many people that donate blood, and we're so grateful for them doing that. But then those same people may forget that day to day there are others out there that need blood all the time. And so they may forget that blood donations are needed. So it's important to always bring awareness to the importance of blood donations year-round. Even if you don't have a blood drive planned or scheduled, just making those reminders, letting people know how important it is, can really make a difference. Also, people tend to be motivated to donate blood when they know that they're doing something for the well-being of others. If you've ever received a blood transfusion and you feel comfortable sharing your story, then maybe letting people know how blood donations help you personally can help motivate them to continue to donate blood. So a few quick tips on how to potentially increase donors. To increase the number of potential donors, remember that people want to be able to trust the blood donation center and be reassured that they will not contract a disease. You'd be surprised to hear that quite a few people are still afraid that they would contract some type of disease from donating blood. And it's so important to let people know that that is simply not true. Let them know that they cannot get a disease from donating blood, and they will be helping so many people by donating. Of course, blood drives should be easy to access. So maybe after a sorority or fraternity chapter meeting, or on a school campus or at a health fair, something that's really easy and not out of the way for people to donate blood. And I also think it's really important to remember that some people who are especially first-time blood donors are going to be very nervous. This may be a nervous experience for them, and so you just want to remember that their first experience is really going to set the tone for their future decisions to donate. So we want to make sure that their first experience is a good one. And then lastly, one potential way to increase donors is to usually blood donors are very proud and excited that they've helped someone, so encouraging them to reach out and to motivate other people is really helpful. Maybe give them one of the brochures that I mentioned earlier and encourage them to encourage their friends and their family to donate blood. Other tips are tips to encourage people to return after they've donated and donate again. So I've heard people say, yeah, I'll donate, but only if I know that this blood is going to you. And, I have to let you know that a lot of blood centers, some do have programs that go to, the donated blood goes to sickle cell patients, and I will go over one of those programs in a second, but blood centers won't tell someone who their blood is going to. That's confidential information. So if you're recruiting and someone asks, will my blood go to you? You can always say, well, donating in general will help people like me and other people too, and that's always a good thing. Also, awareness of most donors, a lot of donors, even if they're experienced, need reminders. They will oftentimes forget. We all get kind of caught up in day-to-day life, and so it's really important for even experienced donors to have those reminders. And this tip by far has got to be one of the most important ones, the next one that I want to talk about, and that is that deferrals are sometimes temporary. And it's so important that potential donors know this information. And let me explain. A deferral is when someone may try to donate blood, but for one reason or another, the blood center may say, you can't donate blood, and they tell them that information. But sometimes that deferral is only temporary. Maybe that person needs to, drink more water so that they can try again to donate blood. But that same person who maybe only needed water may go home and say, well, I can't donate blood. And they don't realize that all they needed was water. So I will share my own personal story. I tried to donate blood a few times in college, and I couldn't. I was deferred. And I just assumed that I could never donate blood again. And it wasn't until maybe 15 years later that I learned that I could try again. And when I did, I was able to donate blood. So it's really important that if someone is deferred from donating blood, that they talk to the blood center right then and there before they go home and ask the blood center, is this a temporary deferral or is this a permanent one? And if they can't answer that question right then and there, they will certainly be more than happy to get back in touch with that person at a later time. Okay, so I've spent quite a few minutes there talking about tips. talking about the materials, and now I want to talk about the donation process itself. And before we get into the donation process, I just have to stress that it's incredibly important that people understand, everyone understands that blood safety, it is a priority for all blood donation centers. The blood donation process and the blood transfusion process is safe. Whenever someone donates blood, 14 different tests are usually performed on each unit of blood just to make sure that it's the right blood type, that it's tested for infections and diseases. And if for some reason the test results aren't good, that donation, that unit of blood will be thrown out. And that is a requirement for all blood centers. So hopefully you pull and take away from this presentation a lot of really good information, but if you don't remember anything else, please remember this, that blood safety is a priority. Okay, so now that we have that clear, let's talk about who can donate blood. The general guidelines are that donors must be in good health and weigh at least 110 pounds. And again, this is for the safety of the donor and the blood supply. And donors must be at least 16 years old. Now, in my state where I am, in Georgia, any person that's 16 years old must have a consent from a parent or a guardian to donate. Anyone older than 16 can just donate blood without that consent. Anyone older than 17 can donate without that consent. The donation process usually and typically takes less than an hour. First, the blood donor starts with registration, where she or he will provide a valid photo ID. Then the blood donor will answer questions about their health and take a blood sample to be sure that that their blood count is acceptable, and to also ensure that it is safe for them to donate and it is safe to take their blood donation into the blood supply. That's what that test is done for. And then last, if a person is able to donate, then the blood is drawn with a sterile needle. Usually each blood donor receives a snack and sometimes gets a free giveaway like a T-shirt after the end of each donation. So a really quick, simple process. There are a couple of blood donation myths that I want to dispel really quickly. Some people feel like if any of these things on the screen here has happened that they can't donate. They think, oh, I've had a tattoo, I've had body piercing in the past year, I've traveled outside of the United States. And it's really important for people to know that a couple of things. Usually there's little to no deferral period for those who have received a tattoo, but in a safe and regulated tattoo parlor. If a person has had a body piercing and it was done under sterile conditions, typically people can give blood. People usually can donate blood if they've traveled outside of the United States, but it does depend on which areas that person has traveled. But that's a part of that history examination or a history interview that happens before a person gives blood. Some people are afraid that they will faint, and while that has happened in the past to some people, that's not usually the case for most people. People should, if they are interested in donating blood, should eat and drink plenty of water before and after they donate blood. And then again, people some folks are concerned that they might catch a disease. And it's important that they know that they cannot get an infectious disease by giving blood. It just does not happen. Every time a person donates blood, the blood center uses new, sterile, and disposable needles. And then lastly, some people feel like if I'm on certain medications, I can't donate blood. Again, it depends on what medication, and the people at the blood center, those who work at the blood center, can let the potential donor know whether or not they can donate blood. And the same is true for people who have diabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. Those three diseases does not mean that you cannot donate blood. As long as a person has those under control, then yes, they can donate blood. So if you want to learn more about the blood donation process, we really just did a really brief and quick run-through. So if you want to learn more, or if you would like to host a blood drive, then I encourage you to visit the American Red Cross website. They have really helpful resources like this, which is a pamphlet on tips for running a successful blood drive or building a recruitment team. For those of you who live in Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, there's also a blood center named Life South. They are another option if you're interested in hosting a blood drive or donating and live in these areas. Life South also has a program called Sickle Heroes, and the blood donated only goes to sickle cell patients. Now, again, just to stress, it does not tell, the donor does not know the exact person that it goes to. The person who receives the blood does not know the exact person that donated the blood, but they do have a way in which the blood that's donated goes specifically to sickle cell patients. So many areas have local blood centers. If you are looking for a specific blood center in your area, feel free to go to any of these websites, redcross.org, lifesouth.org, and there's another called America's Blood that has a really awesome interactive map where you can find by zip code if there's a blood center near you. If you ever have any questions or concerns, or you have ideas that you'd like to share, then please feel free to reach out to me through email. My email's there. My name is Ashley Singleton. Thank you again so much for joining this session on blood donations, and we will see you at the next session.